Coverdale Bible, The Acts of the Apostles, written by St. Luke the Evangelist. What the Acts contain. Chapter 27. Paul's shipping toward Rome. Julius the captain entreateth Paul courteously. At the last they suffer shipwreck. The 27th chapter. When it was concluded that we should sail into Italy, they delivered Paul and certain other prisoners to the under-captain named Julius of the emperor's soldiers. And when we were entered into a ship of Adramyttium to sail by Asia, we loosed from land. And there was with us one Aristarchus out of Macedonia of Thessalonica, and on the next day we came unto Sidon. And Julius entreated Paul courteously, and gave him liberty to go to his friends, and to refresh himself. And from thence launched we, and sailed hard by Cyprus, because the winds were against us, and sailed over the sea of Cilicia and Pamphylia, and came to Myra in Lycia. And there the under-captain found a ship of Alexandria, ready to sail into Italy, and put us therein. And when we had sailed slowly, and in many days were scarcely come over against Nidon, for the wind withstood us, we sailed by Candy nigh unto the city of Selmo, and came scarcely beyond it. Then came we to a place which is called Good Haven, nigh whereunto was the city Lasea. Now when much time was spent, and sailing was now jeopardous, because that they also had fasted overlong, Paul exhorted them, and said unto them, Sirs, I see that this sailing will be with hurt and much damage, not only of the lading and of the ship, but also of our lives. Nevertheless, the under-captain believed the governor of the ship, and the master, more than it that was spoken of Paul. And for so much as the haven was not commodious to winter in, the more part of them took counsel to depart thence, if by any means they might come to Phoenices to winter there, which is an haven of Candy, toward the southwest and northwest wind. When the south wind blew, they, supposing to have had their purpose, loosed unto Asson, and sailed past all Candy. But not long after, there rose against their purpose a flaw of wind, which is called the northeast. And when the ship was caught, and could not resist the wind, we let her go, and drave with the weather. But we came to an isle named Claudia, where we could scarce get a boat, which they took up, and used help, and bound it under hard to the ship, fearing lest they should have fallen into the Syrtes, and let down the vessel, and so were carried. And when we had bidden a great tempest, on the next day they made an outcasting. And on the third day, with our own hands we cast out the tackling of the ship. But when neither sun nor stars appeared in many days, and no small tempest lay upon us, all the hope of our life was taken away. And after long abstinence, Paul stood forth in the midst of them, and said, Sirs, ye should have hearkened unto me, and not to have loosed from Candy, and not to have brought us this harm and loss. And now I exhort you to be of good cheer, for there shall none of our lives perish, but the ship only. For this night stood by me the angel of God, whose I am, and whom I serve, and said, Fear not, Paul, thou must be brought before the emperor. And lo, God hath given unto thee all them that sail with thee. Wherefore, sirs, be of good cheer, for I believe God, that it shall come so to pass, as it was told me. Howbeit, we must be cast in to a certain island. But when the 14th night came, as we were carried in Adria about midnight, the shipmen deemed that there appeared some country unto them, and they cast out the lead, and found it 20 fathoms. And when they were gone a little farther, they cast out the lead again, and found 15 fathoms. Then fearing lest they should fall on some rock, they cast 4 anchors out of the stern, and wished for the day. When the shipmen were about to flee out of the ship, and let down the boat into the sea, under a colour, as though they would cast anchors out of the 4 ships, Paul said to the under-captain and to the soldiers, Except these bide in the ship, ye cannot be saved. Then the soldiers cut off the rope from the boat, and let it fall. And when it began to be day, Paul exhorted them all to take meat, and said, Today is the 14th day that ye have tarried and continued fasting, and have received nothing. Wherefore I pray you to take meat for your health, for there shall not one hair fall from the head of any of you. And when he had thus spoken, he took bread, and gave thanks to God before them all, and brake it, and began to eat. Then were they all of good cheer, and took meat also. We were all together in the ship 260 souls. And when they had eaten enough, they lightened the ship, and cast out the wheat into the sea. When it was day, they knew not the land, but they spied an haven with a bank, into which they were minded, if it were possible, to thrust in the ship. And when they had taken up the anchors, they committed themselves to the sea, and loosed the rudder bands, and hoist up the mainsail to the wind, and drew toward land. And when we chanced on a place which had the sea on both the sides, the ship dashed upon it, and the forepart abode fast unmoved, but the hinder part brake through the violence of the waves. The soldiers' counsel was to kill the prisoners, lest any of them, when he had swimmed out, should flee away. But the under-captain, willing to save Paul, kept them from their purpose, and commanded that they which could swim should cast themselves first into the sea, and escape unto land, and the other, some on boards, some on broken pieces of the ship. And so it came to pass that all the souls came safe unto land.